Hi guys, today we're going to start a new project called Mutant Zoo. Mutant Zoo, for this project, you're gonna have a goal of creating an animal that has been mutated from 3 different animals. So you have to use 3 parts of at least 3 separate animals that you will find on Google Images. You're going to make sure, first of all, that the project is school appropriate, and that all the pictures are similar resolution in size and facing the same direction, because it'll make it a lot easier to complete the project. Your goal for this is to make a mutant animal that looks pretty realistic and doesn't look like it's Frankenstein together, like it's stitched together, but rather we want it to look like it evolved from like some weird evolutionary happening. So let's get started. So one of the things I recommend is looking at some of the examples on the graphics design class page. You can go to other years and see other people's work. But if you go to my page, you can see towards the bottom of my page, I have my mutant animals. Notice what I have here. This is a mole, a zebra, and a kangaroo that I've merged together into one animal called the mozabro. You will have to name the animal. You will have to figure out what world or habitat it lives in and put it in that habitat. It can't be part of the original picture. You have to figure out how you're going to blend those animals together. So that required me to copy the stripes from the zebra down on top of the kangaroo's shape, and then continuing those stripes onto the mole's fur. Another example of this would be my squigraph, which was a squirrel tail on a giraffe body and has a pig head, and it lives in the apple orchards and eats apples all year round. And again, using some of the blending tools to kind of blend in those shapes together will make it look a little more realistic. Another example of the Mutant Zoo project is the Lady Pigatonk. So I took a pig body with ladybug features and coloring, with a alligator body or a head, and I think this is a squirrel tail as well. And again, figuring out how you're going to mesh the parts together is the tricky part. And this is the one I'm most proud of. It's my bear gleck of Middle Earth. It lives in Middle Earth, and it fights on the sites of the orcs, which is why the elves are fighting it. And it's part bear, eagle, it has eagle wings, and it has antlers from a deer. So again, making this look as realistic as possible is the point of the project, and you want to do your best to figure out which way your animal parts are facing and how you're going to blend them together. So the first part of the project is finding pictures. So the trick is to go to Google Images, and you could type in either just animal, you could type in specific animal names. I like to type in animal at first to just see what's out there. Remember, the important thing for this is to make sure all of your pictures are the kind of equal resolution. So you're going to click Tools here, go to Size, and make sure you're selecting large images only. When you point to the picture, notice in the bottom corner, it will show you the size. Make sure they're all over 1,000 by 1,000 to make sure that you're looking at the highest resolution pictures as you can. What I usually recommend, because you want to get a body of an animal, it makes it a little easier to work with. Try to find an animal on its side. I've used this picture before in one of my projects. So I'm going to look for an animal that's kind of looking on its side here. And it's sometimes hard to find just the right picture. So, gross. And you don't want cartoon pictures, and you don't want pictures that have already been photoshopped. You could use something like this, tardigrades, because those are actually very tiny, tiny microscopic animals. That is fine to use. don't choose anything that's obviously inappropriate for school. So let me see what I could find here for one of my animals. So let's see. And obviously you don't want something like painted like that. That's hilarious. Maybe I'll do this one. So this is a cute little animal. Make sure you know what the animal is. So if you don't know what it says, so this is a squirrel. So I'm gonna get that one, save image as, save it to your graphic design folder, and I'm gonna just call this one squirrel. And so I want all my other animals to kind of be looking in a side direction. So maybe I could choose some ears from this one, or let's see what else, what other type of animals I could blend together with that squirrel. And again, you want something that's going to be blending in together. This part of the project may take a little bit of time. Finding the right pictures that will go together is the most challenging part. But once you find it, then it could be a great project. So let me see if I'm not finding anything here. Maybe I'll look specifically for an animal with antlers. And so maybe I'll put antlers on my squirrel. So I want something pointing kind of to the side. These might be good from like a gazelle, or even something like that. Ooh, that would be interesting. Maybe from a ram. I think I'm going to do that. So let's see, I'm going to save that one as well. So I'm going to put ram antlers so I know what I'm using it for. And then I need one other picture. So let me look at my squirrel picture again. So if we put antlers on the side, maybe a tail, or maybe I could change the bottom half of its body. So what if I look for a bird? And I'm gonna look kind of like from the waist down of the bird to see if I could find an interesting one. Like this one would be kind of cool to figure out how to mix with it. Or I could put wings on it. That might work. So I'm gonna pull this one. This one may or may not work because it looks like it's a PNG file. So because you could tell by the checkerboard background, I'm gonna try it, see if it works. So I'm gonna say bird. See, I don't think it's gonna work because of the file type. Let me find another picture. So I'm looking for something with nice legs or big, nice wingspan. Obviously photoshopped. So let's look. I need something a little bit of a side view. Like this is perfect. Let's see if there's another one down here, maybe. No, so let's keep looking until I find the right picture to match. And again, if you're not finding anything really good, think of another animal. So what could I put instead of a bird that has wings? I could look for maybe a butterfly. That would be interesting. I could do a butterfly wings, kind of like that. If I get rid of this part of the butterfly and then tilt it on its side, or something like that. And if I flip it the other direction, or even like that, ooh, that would be kind of cool. Let's try this one. So I'm going to save this butterfly. Butterfly. And I always like to have at least one backup picture just in case something doesn't work out well. So let me think of what else, like animal tail. And let's see, kind of animal tails we have. We have this one, but I already have a squirrel, so I don't want a squirrel tail. Something that obviously looks, I want a side view of one, not a back view. I could do a kangaroo tail like that. This is drawn, so you can't use something like this, although that would be kind of cool. But you're going to look for something with this. That'd be cool, but it'd be hard to get it out of that background. So think about how you're going to get the picture out of its existing background as well. Let's see. Just not finding anything I really like. This is, again, one of the more harder and challenging parts of the project, is finding just the right picture that will make it fit in. Here, horse's tail. So I'm going to take this horse's tail, save images, horse tail. All right, so now that I have my pictures saved, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them all into my Photoshop project. So for the next part of the project, you have to first open a brand new document that you're going to save all of your mutant animals on. So in Photoshop, you're going to hit File, New, Blank File. You're going to choose the default Photoshop Elements size, which is 6 by 4 inches at 300 resolution. You're just going to hit OK. This will bring up a blank document. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to open all 3 of your animal pictures. So we're going to click on Open, and we're going to look for your pictures. You could open them one at a time, or you could hold the Control key and select all of them kind of out of order. There we go. That's 4 pictures, just in case. And you'll see them open down here in the container bin, the organizer bin. So notice they're all separate tabs up here at the top. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to each picture. You're going to use the marquee tool, and you're going to draw a box around the part of the picture you want to keep. You're going to Control C to copy, go back to your untitled one over here and Control V. That'll place the picture, that animal, on a new layer all by himself. You're going to repeat that process for each of your animal parts. So click on the next animal, a box around the area you want to keep, Control C, go back, Control V, new layer. And you're going to keep going, Control C, Control V. And again, they're just on top of each other, that's okay. And the last one I'm going to look at, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, is Control C and Control V. Now that all my animals are in one document, I could close all these other animal documents, and then I'm going to save this one. So let's go to File, Save As. Make sure you're in your graphic design folder in Google Drive file stream, and you're going to call it Mutant Zoo and your name. And you're going to make sure that is a Photoshop document, a PSD document, and hit Save. Now you're going to be ready to start editing these animal parts together. So the next step of editing your Mutant Zoo project is now to figure out how you're going to blend your animals together. So what I usually do is I use my Move tool and go to each layer. Make sure you name your layers. That will definitely help navigate through this project. So I'm gonna call that one butterfly. This one, let's see, which one is that? Horse. Horse. This one, oops. Let's move it over. That was the ram. And this one was my squirrel. Remember, you probably only have 3 animals. I just put an extra one there just in case. And remember, the bottom one, usually I use the bottom one as the body. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to that animal, turn off the eye on the other animals, make sure you're on that specific layer, and see if there's anything you need to clean. So I think this one is good the way it is. So I'm gonna turn on the next piece, which is the ram. So the ram is obviously facing the wrong way. So what do I have to do? I have to flip him over, and I have to hit the head about the same size as my squirrel. Something like that. So I'm looking at just the ram horns, and it'll appear like something like that. On top, I would get rid of the face of the ram and squeeze it between. Let me look then at my horse. So again, for this one, I have to first flip it. Make sure you're on that layer and make it smaller. And then I could figure out where I'm gonna put it, like somewhere over there. And then the last one, we'll see if I use it or not, is my butterfly. And I'm gonna turn it a little first. And let's see, I think it might be good like that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see if the butterfly works for this project. So what I have to do is, for my butterfly, I'm gonna clean up everything except for the wings out of this picture. So I'm gonna zoom in, and you can use any tool you want to. You can use the erase tool. I'm gonna try first because the green on the background is pretty distinctive. So make sure you're on that layer, and you just would select. I'm gonna increase the tolerance a little. Looks pretty good like that. And again, once you have most of it selected, you can hit the delete button on your computer keyboard and then deselect, Control D. And then I would use the eraser. And actually for this one, what I might actually do, I might just erase kind of the flower part of the butterfly picture. Like that. I don't have to get in it, and maybe the body part. But the rest of this, maybe, I'm gonna see if it looks better behind the squirrel's body. So what I would do in that case is, let's turn this off, and I'll go back to my squirrel layer, and I'm gonna cut out the squirrel. So how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna cut out this part of the background and just keep the squirrel in the flower. So I'm gonna use the lasso tool for that. And it doesn't have to be perfect the first time around. So I'm just gonna do a rough job here. If I missed anything, make sure you're on the add. And you could add anything, kind of little circles that you missed. I think that got everything there. And then you could, when you have it all selected, you could just right click, layer via copy. And now you have a cleaner version of the animal. And then you could just zoom in then, and with the eraser, just clean up around. Just be a little slow about it. And just clean it up. I'm just gonna do that one edge right now because I wanna see if the butterfly wings look better in the front, or if I put them below. They kind of look interesting that way. Maybe if I turn them a little and scoot them in like that. Oh, that looks really cool. So I think I like the butterfly wings. And I would obviously need to clean in there to make sure it blends a little better. But I have like 2 of my animal parts ready to go now. So I'm going to rename this one Squirrel Cutout. So I know that's that layer. And then I'm going to then work on my ram horns. So let's turn those on. And I'm going to really zoom in for this. So for this picture, a lot of the picture is the same color. So what I'm going to end up doing for this one is I'm just going to use my eraser tool. Make sure you're on that layer. And you're just going to have to go around and delete what you don't need. I don't want the face. And guys, it's okay. If you need to open the animal picture again to re-marquee tool it and copy it back over, you could do that if you make a huge mistake. Everything is fixable in Photoshop. And again, I would zoom in on specific areas just to make it easier for you to work with and make sure you're not cutting off parts of things that you actually need. So I'm gonna, it's looking funny. I'm gonna get rid of the ears though and just keep the horns. Because the squirrel has its own ears right there. And I'm just gonna keep cleaning up around until I get it all cleaned up. If you need to make your brush smaller, I definitely recommend that. And zooming in really helps. Don't be afraid to zoom in. All right, it looks pretty, oops, I missed a little piece right there. Well, it looks pretty good. Let's zoom out a little bit and see if I need to like move it around maybe. So, or if I need to turn it. Oops, maybe turning it. Yeah, that looks really cool like that. So, and actually for this one, since the way it turned, I'm going to clean up this edge right here, just because it's not sticking out. Okay. And then I could go back to my squirrel cutout layer, and there's still some of this green showing up, so I could get rid of that too. And just so we see his nose, and that's all cleaned up there. It looks like he's wearing a backwards football helmet, which is pretty awesome. All right, so we have 3 animal parts right there. So I actually don't need my horsetail, so I'm actually going to get rid of that. So I don't need that anymore. Delete. So I have 1, 2, 3 animals together. So all I have left to do is cleaning up around the squirrel here, and then I can move on to the next step. So after you have your animals all kind of spaced out and cleaned up so that they're kind of laid out, just what you have to do now is blend. So how are you going to leave everything kind of like taped together, which is what it looks like now, because there's no like continuity between these features. So what you could do is you could use a variety of tools to help blend them in together better. So one of the things tools I use for this is either blur tool or the smudge tool for this. So, and it just helps blend things in better. And you'll have to go between the layers sometimes to do this. It works a lot better when you do that. So for instance, if I'm on my squirrel here, I could smudge a little along the edges here. So it kind of blends in a little with the butterfly wings, okay? Just so it doesn't look like it's just, you know, 2 disconnected pieces. Another thing I could do is like up here on the helmet of the ram horns, Right here, there's a little like, the color is actually very good. It blends pretty well. But maybe I want to maybe cut off this area. So I'm going to use, again, my erase tool to just shave. Oops, wrong layer. Go to your RAM layer and then just shave off kind of parts that don't blend in well. So that looks a little better, so you can see the nose of the squirrel better. And just get it to blend a little more in. And again, I would use that blur or smudge tool right here at the edges, just to, so it doesn't look like it's totally separated pieces. And when we zoom out, you're not going to notice it as much as different things. You could also recolor stuff. So maybe instead of just gray ram wings, maybe I wanted to match maybe the purple of the wings a little more. So let's zoom in a little, and I'm going to select on the RAM layer, select everything except for, hold on one second, I just realized I have a little piece right here. So let's Control D. Okay, and let's do it again. There we go. Oh wait, I missed another little piece over here. So Control D. And let's, one more time. Okay, so we're gonna select inverse. Now my RAM helmet is selected. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and get to the color from the wings here. So this purple, and I'm gonna try to recolor it. So I'm gonna change it to color here on my brush tool. And I'm gonna recolor the ram horns so that they kind of match the butterfly wings. Again, it's just a piece that helps the consistency of the animal and look like it's one animal instead of like a Frankenstein animal. So let's deselect, Control D, and let me zoom out a little bit and see how it looks. Oh, it looks a lot cooler now. It looks like a really cool looking animal. Now, what I did for my squirrel body, you could see here, the legs weren't all the way on the picture, so I just kind of cut it off there. What I'm going to do is I have to figure out then where this animal is going to live. So I've decided because of the flower, it's going to live in a meadow of flowers. So I'm going to first go find a picture of that habitat and figure out how I'm going to hide the feet of my animal. The next part of the project is figuring out what kind of habitat your animal is going to live in and how you're going to kind of fit this animal into that. Obviously, since my animal doesn't really have feet, I have to figure out how we're going to hide that fact. So what I figured I would do is I would put this animal into a meadow of flowers of some sort. So let's go to, oops, sorry. We're going to go to Google Images. And what I did is I looked for meadow, flowers and meadow. And I found this picture, and it looks pretty interesting because some of these flowers could hide the bottom of the animal. And I think it would fit in with the flower that's already there. So I'm going to save this picture. And I'm going to just call it Flowers and Meadow, and into my graphic design folder and hit save. Once I do that, I can then go back to Photoshop here and open it. Open my Flowers and Meadow as a separate document. And I'm just gonna marquee tool it, copy, and paste. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is gonna make sure I see the whole screen, and I'm going to resize that picture so it fits the whole space. Okay. Now, if your picture, like this one, is a little pixelated, so that means it's probably not going to work well, I'm just going to delete it, and I'm going to go look for another picture. Remember, your goal is to find pictures that are high resolution, which I forgot to look for at the beginning. I did, but it still wasn't high enough resolution. Because of the type of picture I'm doing, I'm looking for a picture that has kind of almost a side view of the pictures of the flowers. Also look, make sure you don't have anything with a watermark like this is a stock photo. You have to pay for those to get it without the watermark. Please don't use those in your picture. So I'm going to try to find a different picture. And you could also search by color. So if you want, like, let's say I want some blue ones, I could try to find some blue images. Like, that might be good. Some wildflowers. So I could right click on that, save image as, let's say wildflowers. Because that one is good enough resolution. So let's try it again. So let's do File, Open. I'm gonna look for wildflowers. And that's a much bigger picture already. So I'm going to marquee tool it, copy it, and put it back into my picture. And it's covering everything right now because it's at the top. But if I move it to the bottom, it kind of blends in a little more. So now I could take my layers that make up my animal and I could group them together by hitting that little chain. And now I could resize it. I can I can make my animal bigger. I could move it down so maybe you don't see that. And maybe this flower will blend in a little more with the rest of the picture a little better. So it looks, and if I need to turn it or anything like that, I could do that as well. If I do that, I'm going to just bring it down a little. Very a festive looking animal here. So now that you have your animal together, it's been formatted, you have it in a habitat of some sort, you have to make sure that you give it a name. So for this one, I'm going to use the text tool, and I'm going to use that same purple that I used over there because I think it will be fun. And I'm going to choose a different font because I want to. Try that one. And we're going to call it the, let's see, the butter scram. The butter scram. And you could decide how it's spelled. There's no wrong spelling for this. You're naming the animal. And if I want to make that a little smaller, I can make it a little smaller. And then the very last thing you're going to do is you are going to put your name somewhere small in the corner, one of the bottom corners. It should not be huge, Isaac. It should be small, out of the way. And I don't like that font, so I'm going to choose a different font. I'll use that one. Oh, and I was going to change the color of that one, wasn't I? So let's change that one to, can we get that one? See how it looks. And what you could do if like you want that color, but you want a little more pizzazz to it, you could go to styles and maybe add a stroke around it like that, maybe a smaller stroke, to give it a little more pizzazz to your picture. Okay, at this point, you're gonna file save as again. Make sure it's called Mutant Zoo with your name at the end as a Photoshop PSD document. Save it. And then file save as again as a JPEG. And hit OK. The JPEG and PSD versions should go into Google Classroom for this assignment. And the JPEG should also be posted to your portfolio page. When you present this in class, you will have to answer questions about your animal, including what your animal eats, where it lives, how does it reproduce, does it give live birth or lay eggs, what other distinguishing features about this animal could you share with us? So the class will be able to ask you any question about your animal that is school appropriate, and you have to come up with an answer for it, okay? Enjoy, I can't wait to see your Mutant Zoo animal.